This is Brett Moomey with SkipperBud's and Marine Max Yachts. I'm going to take you on a tour of this 2024 Scout 355 LXF powered by Max Power, which is the triple 400 V10 Mercury Verados. They are in cold fusion white, which you'll see on the transom here. That pushes this boat to 74 miles an hour and cruises right around 45, which is pretty wild. The boat only has 40 fresh water hours on it currently. The owners only used it for a little over a year, and it is powered or optioned with the Seakeeper amongst almost every factory option available, at least every big factory option. One of the cool standards, which there's quite a few standard options that come with these Scouts, but one is that bow camera that you see right under there, the stainless anchor. That's super nice when retrieving your anchor or docking in a tight side tie, but to be able to see that windlass and follow your road all from the helm and control it till it gets up and seated out of the way is pretty nice. Then you hit the sky hook, come up to the bow, and you can secure the anchor. It is in Scout white hull with a custom silver boot line. You can see those beautiful 2 steps on the hull. And you do have this large dive door access. I'm going to jump on board, we're going to take it out on the water, and we're going to finish the whole interior from out on beautiful Lake Michigan. As promised, moving interior, it's an absolutely beautiful day here on Lake Michigan in early September. I'm going to kind of move from the bow to the stern of the boat and try to catch everything. I'm sure I'll miss a few things. So again, feel free to reach out with questions. But notable in this bow is what I'm standing on right now. This is a fairly significant option from factory. That is a massive high-low table. So it'll power up. It'll go to cushion height or all the way up to full dining height. And there's massive storage underneath here too. And then underneath there is fully tubbed storage in here with drains as well, all dry storage both sides of the boat. These backrests are removable, so if you can imagine this up in sunbed mode, and then these extra space, you've got a ton of lounging space up in the bow. There is an audio control here on the port side, and then starboard side you have that high-low table control. Quite a few rod holders up in the bow as well. This boat has never been fished, but you'll see rod holders throughout the whole gunnel, as well as I believe 6 hardtop rocket launchers too. You do have, of course, controls at the helm for the windlass, and there is a nice little function, which is that camera I showed on the walkthrough, so you can control that there, but you do have the foot pedals or push button here. There is a water wash down up in the bow for your windlass. Your road all goes down under this storage area. Nice little compartment for storage. Right now on the opposite side there's a dock pole there. When we get down to the cabin, you'll see how nice these large windows with opening portholes are for letting in some natural light down there. On the starboard side you have just kind of a storage area for lines and or deck equipment like your deck pole or scrub poles or even gaffs if you're going to fish the boat. Nice powder coated handrails throughout the whole perimeter. Large walkways with non-skid on them, so you can walk the perimeter of the boat. There's 3 drawer storages here on the starboard side of this helm. There's 2 large fish boxes with macerators that you'll see in the bilge area, mechanical space, flip out, forward facing seat in the cockpit. Then you've got this large aft facing seat with a nice prep station or kind of entertaining space, built-in cup holders again, and then access down to your Seakeeper that I can click on here as well when we get to the helm. Massive dive door. So I always note functionality of these. Sometimes this doesn't clear without this being open, or vice versa. You have to move the top bolster to actually open that dive door. This one clears any way you want it. And then kind of nice little feature on the bottom side of this dive door lid here, you've got 4 cup holders for dropping your drink in before you jump in. There's a large bait well, live well in the stern of the boat with built-in lights. This is fully insulated, so you can use it as a cooler. 2 additional wash downs. There's a fresh and raw water wash down that is located right over here next to the storage spot for the Lumar ladder. So you've got connection spot for that Lumar here off the dive door, additional spot off the transom, which notably this stern walkway is pretty phenomenal. I mean, you've got a couple feet of space to move about or to board the boat at a lower dock height, and a nice little stainless finish and fully sealed access for all your mechanicals and fuel lines for those Verados engines. Up top here, you're going to see those rod holders. There's huge speaker options zoned throughout the whole boat, 2 subwoofers at the helm, and then this is a track system just for a drop curtain full boat cover. So I'll put a photo of that in the listing itself, but the cover just cinches around the boat, then you've got a ratchet to lock it in, so there's no snaps throughout that you're dealing with on the boat. And there is a hardtop sunshade, so that'll retract fully out, and that gives you the ability to run that sunshade even at full speed versus a canvas style where you don't have that ability. Before we get to the helm and then down to the cabin, let's look at this mechanical space right now. So notable, you have easy access to all of your seacocks, your bilge pumps. Those are the seacocks for the fish boxes. And what I like to point out in here is how well this is done. Not only is it fully finished on the bottom of every lid, every space that you can basically touch, but also they do these little bump outs. So those are intentional. Inside that bump out, what you can't see is a high density foam. So the boat is unsinkable, just like competitors where you can cut it in half, yada yada. But what Scout does a little different is they do what's called level sinking. So a lot of manufacturers do that, where you can fill the boat with water, gear, everything else. Even if the boat were to get filled with water, it's going to stay nice and level. It's not going to list, it's not going to bob, it's not going to be bow heavy, which just keeps it nice and safe, so you're not capsizing while waiting for help. Scout does that intentionally, again, instead of filling the entire compartment, to keep weight out of the boat. That's a big thing in Scout's DNA, is weight out of the boat. So they use full, almost all carbon fiber through this boat. It is, they call it e-glass. It's a mix of carbon fiber and regular fiberglass, but they also use epoxy resin, which is much stronger. It allows for much less material to get the same resin or same strength as you would out of a vinyl ester resin. And then they do a couple of also unique things in a mass-produced boat, which this is a fully hand-laid hull. So they don't have what's called the chopper gun that adds a lot of thickness to the hull, but very little structural strength. Every piece of this boat is hand-laid. Pretty impressive when you go to Scout and see every piece getting laid in the boat just perfectly. Vacuum bagged on most of the product now. And even things like this aluminum support for your T-top, that is took a lot of manufacturers for them to find the right style that they could actually make the radius of this bend without crimping either side of that aluminum. A lot of money, a lot of work goes into those little details, as well as the way that they actually build the shoebox on this. So this boat is also unique in the sense that it's what's called a reverse shoebox design. So instead of a traditional boat build, which I think every other manufacturer I sell is traditional shoebox. So it just means you've got the hull, you've got the deck goes over the hull and gets screwed together, bolted together with some sort of sealant, and then the rubber rail goes over that. That's an easy way to build a boat. They can pop the hull out, cap the deck, and away you go. Where shoebox is reverse, it's called a reverse shoebox on Scout, which they actually build a little lip on the bottom side of this rubber rail. So on the bottom right here, this comes out, allowing the deck on the top side to fit inside, which is a much more difficult way to build a boat because you have a much smaller variance to get that cap to fit in. They build the boat in the mold, which is also rare. But the whole thought process is once you lower that deck, the top side that we're standing in, inside the hull, as the boat oil cans, you're pushing on that deck. And then they use a material that's similar to fiberglass to seal it. So there's no bolts and screws holding this boat together. It becomes one full unit, and then just screws to hold on the rub rail for appearance on the perimeter of the boat. Kind of a cool way that Scout does that. So that paired with the weight and the flare is what allows this boat to perform so well in rough water. Super dry, super soft, doesn't bottom out, and even at 50 miles an hour, you can punch it and you feel it kick in, getting up to those low 70s that I noted earlier. So let's move to the helm real quick. We'll hit the cabin and we'll be done. At the helm, of course, you have your joystick controls, throttle, single lever. What's nice over here is you have a zip wake system, so that will take your pitch, your roll out of the boat rather. It'll auto trim down for planing, and immediately they come out of their way. Those blades that are like a trim tab, but they only drop a couple of inches to get the same performance of a large trim tab. So underway, even when the boat's listing, those will make a minor adjustment in quartering or beam waves to keep the boat nice and level. Again, this boat does have Seakeeper, so in the Seakeeper controls here, you can do that at rest, but that Seakeeper makes very little difference at full speed. So right now we're spun up. You can see us going, 3-4 degrees. Push the button, count to 3, boom, locked. Now we're no longer rocking. And that's just in 1 foot waves. If you can imagine seeing that full attitude of 15-degree roll from center, so 30 degrees total roll down to 3 or 4 degrees, which was our initial rock in 6-inch 1 foot waves, it's pretty shocking. At this helm, you do have a glove box here. You've got storage. You have air conditioning that acts from the helm or from the console cabin air conditioning unit into the helm area as well. Obviously, large dual upgraded screens, full controls in those screens. So you're going to have all of your switching for lights and pumps and everything else, as well as switching for your Lumishore underwater lights. And then you do have some hard button push buttons for your more commonly used systems, so you're not going through the screens there. Each one of these helm seats is independently bolstered, so you can adjust it however is most comfortable for the conditions you're in. You've got nice footrest here, 2 large subwoofers, and kind of nice, each one of these helm seats are independently power heated, and they get hot. So on cool days, it is nice to have a little bit of heat at the helm seat, especially here in Lake Michigan. And then there is a number of different accent lights. So you've got your normal map lights, white lights, this flexi blue perimeter light, which also pulls in under the entire gunnel of the bow of the boat. And then a transom light that lights up the transom name off the stern, obviously the underwater lights that I noted. And then you do have independent bow and stern spreader lights as well. Let's finish in the cabin real quick, and I'm sure I missed at least 5 things, but so here's that large filler cushion that goes up in the bow. You've got a nice TV with audio right next to it. Again, the large windows with opening portholes. You do have a refrigerator, sink head, nice storage back behind here. You have all of your switching, battery switch, single button push for those, and your controls for your AC power for the shore power, which is a 30 amp system up there. Audio head unit, although that's controlled through the C-Zone system. And then that's just a mechanical space with your air conditioner unit, but worth noting how well that's ran and designed. And you do have some drawer storage and additional storage under here, as well as the seats down in that cabin area. Truly one of my favorite boats is this model for something under 40 feet in 74, 73 miles an hour in 4 or 5 foot waves even is pretty shocking. And the boat just simply won't bottom out. It doesn't crash ever, even in those big waves. And it's just kind of a sports car. So again, this is Brett Moomey with SkipperBud's and Marine Max Yachts. Give me a shout. Happy to share original options or any more questions or thoughts that you have.